Okay, I'm going to do a review here of the Walther PPQ. Now, as you can see, this is the Longslide version. The standard version is only as long as the dust cover here, ends right about there. The Longslide gives you an extra 1 inch of barrel and a bit longer sight radius because of that. I picked up the Longslide version for a couple of reasons. One, this is going to be a range gun. I'm not going to be using it for carry or anything like that. So I was fine with the longer slide, even though it really wouldn't be that big of a thing to use as far as for carry, because all the other dimensions are the same. It's just a longer slide. But one of the big reasons why I got the Longslide version was locally, every place that I looked didn't have any of the standard PPQs in stock. They had a couple had this one, the Longslide available, and that was it. The Cabela's, on the other hand, did have both available, but they were charging the same price for their standard that everywhere else that I found it in stock was charging for the Longslide version. So I went ahead and just picked this up, and I really am glad I did, because I really do enjoy that extra barrel length there. So, talking about pricing, the prices on these things can range between $600 to $700 depending on the model and the store you pick it up at. Usually the standard versions, I see them for about $600, and the Longslide version like this for about $650. So that's about the price range you're gonna find these at. Now, as far as ergonomics on this thing, I really like how this thing is set up. The PPQ is kind of like an evolution of the P99. The P99 had a double action, single action style trigger, which was fairly unique for a striker fired trigger or a striker fired pistol. Had a decocker and all that, but the ones I see in Europe look like the PPQ does. Same overall design, just P99 with a different trigger mechanism. But the P99s I see in the United States look very different. I don't know if it looked like the American version in Europe from at first, and then they changed after a while. I'm not sure, but either way, the PPQ follows along the European P99 styling. And I'm glad it did, because I much prefer this over the American P99 version of Ergonomics. So overall, a lot of people are going to compare these to some of the Walther pistols, like the VP9 here. The PPQ did come out before the VP9, but I think the VP9 feels just a little bit better in the hand, simply because the side panels here can be swapped out as well, and I can really customize it to my hand. But that's not saying the PPQ is bad. It's very nice. It's just in comparison to something that is as nice as that one is in the feeling in the hand. But it's really nice feeling. The back straps, they can be replaced. You do need a punch and a hammer to do it, but it's not difficult if you have those two tools. And I put on the small simply because my shorter fingers usually tend to like the smaller grips for myself. So overall, grip's very nice. It has finger grooves, but they're very shallow, and they don't really annoy me, so I don't really knock them too bad. As far as controls, the slide stop is ambidextrous. It exists on both sides of the gun. You don't need to swap anything over to get that. The magazine release does need to be swapped. If you're a left-hander or you like it being on the side of the pistol, you will need to swap it out. I would really have liked to found the M1 version that had the original paddle style release, but they're harder to find. And if you really like paddle style releases like I do, definitely take a look for one, because it's paddle release. It's really nice. It's, in my opinion, a better system than the button. The other things about it, we'll talk about the sights here. The sights are plastic, so if you don't like that, you'll have to get aftermarket sights for it. But you do get windage adjustable sights with it, so that's always nice. It came nice and zeroed from the factory for me, but everybody shoots a little differently, and being able to easily adjust the windage is always a positive. The sights are standard 3-dot sights, but it uses kind of small dots on it, which some people may not like. It doesn't bother me at all. I can pick up the sights pretty well, regardless of the smaller dot. The front sight is fairly narrow compared to the rear notch here. The notch is fairly wide, so you get a lot of space in between your front sight blade and the rear notch edges. And that helps you get a really quick sight picture from your sights for quick shooting. It's not as precise than than sights that have a closer relationship between the front post and the rear notch, because there's more room for error left and right. But you do get, like as I said, you can gain quicker sight picture with it. It's really excellent setup for duty use and defensive use and stuff like that. This being more target orientated, I wish they had put some slightly different sights on it, but they did not. And the fact that it has a slightly longer sight radius just makes the problem a little worse, because of the front post being out a little farther and looking just a little smaller. But if I take my time, I can really be precise with this pistol without really any issues at all. This thing is extremely accurate. It's easy to eat or easy to be accurate with, anyway. And that really comes down to the excellent trigger. Everybody raves about this trigger. Well, not everybody. I've seen a couple of people complain about it, but most people rave about it. I think biggest complaints people have about it is the fact it does have a long trigger pull. There is a lot of take up on this trigger, but it is really light overall trigger. You can feel the tension from the trigger return spring and the striker block being lifted, but you can't feel any grinding or anything because of that. You just feel the spring tension, and you have like I said, fairly good bit of take up, but then you hit this wall here, and then you have no creep at all, if maybe slight amount, and that's if you're really trying to feel it. But that is an extremely clean break, a really nice break. And then for people who like reset, the reset is very short. I'd say it's shorter than a Glock. It's very tactile. It's not very as audible as a Glock, but you can definitely hear it and feel it. I'm not one to subscribe to writing reset, but I do it subconsciously. I've noticed myself, but it's not something I consciously try to do. For me, people say that I want to be able to hear that thing reset. If you're on the range and you're wearing hearing protection, you're probably not going to be able to hear it, or at least not very well. And if you're firing your pistol without hearing protection, your ears are going to be ringing and you're not going to hear it. So being tactile, I think, is more important than being audible. But either way, very nice clean reset, very clean break, light take up. It's not super light, but it's not heavy take up at all. It's a really excellent trigger to use, especially at a range. When it comes to stock triggers, it's probably the best striker trigger that out of the box. It really is. Now, as far as its reliability and function-wise have been gone, I've got at least 500 rounds through it now, and it has been 100%. Haven't had a single issue out of it. It's been great. It feeds everything I've put in it and shoots accurately. I'm really happy with it, and the build quality is really good. Everything's put together well. Everything's machined nicely. Really, truly is a well put together pistol. So you're getting you're getting some quality for the little extra money you're gonna have to that you spend on it. Now, as far as disassembly goes, it's really easy to do. You pull the slide back a little bit, just like on a Glock, and pull in on these tabs, also like a Glock. After you do that, you let the slide forward a little bit. The latches will stay down. You can pull the trigger, and the slide comes right off. Got metal inserts that have your slide rails front and rear right here. Then you've got captured recoil spring. The Longslide version, it uses the same basic spring as the standard version, and they mill it out so it just fits right there. instead of going all the way to the end. And then the barrel comes out, lifts out just like anything else. Then you put everything back in together. This thing fits together really tightly. Everything, there's not a lot of wiggle room. It goes nice and tight. Back in. Slide back on. Rack it back. Check function. You're good. So there you go. Excellent little pistol. Well put together. Very accurate. Very reliable. Feels great in the hand, or at least I think it does. A little bit more expensive than you're going to spend on, especially American-made or some other foreign-made pistols from other countries. Germans, they're a little bit more proud of their stuff. They put a lot of work into their stuff that they make. So you do get a little bit of price premium, but it's you're not getting fleeced. You're definitely getting a high-quality piece. And if you're looking for a Walther, a PPQ is an excellent choice, really is. And it's just an excellent choice if you're looking for a striker fire trigger, striker fire pistol in general. There you go. I can't really rave on this pistol any more than countless others have.